A lot of people look at Bitcoin as different things. There is, of course, a set of people that look at Bitcoin as a digital gold, but there are some people who equate it to more like a tech stock of sorts. I think when a lot of people are on high leverage simply because, in general, like I mentioned, we are in a bullish environment, time to go long and buy. So people start to leverage and buy. But once the news starts to switch and you don't get to sell in time, and the pressure forces liquidation price being hit.
Bitcoin prices has been very volatile in the past 2 weeks. It went all the way down to 58,000 or something like that, and then subsequently it rebounded back very quickly to close to 61 or 62,000. Since then, it has been hovering around the range of 59 to 60,000 thereabout. With such volatility, I think a lot of investors are very worried and they don't know what to do with their crypto assets. So today I'm delighted to have the CEO of Tokenize together with me, Wei Chi. Thanks for coming to the show today to share with us your insight about what's going on in the crypto market and how we should maneuver in such current situation. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, pleasure, Frankie. Morning. Also a pleasure to be here because I've always been following this channel.
Thank you so much.
So a small correction there.
Right.
The volatility did not brought Bitcoin down to just 58,000, but it was 48,000.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So it's a much bigger drop. I think last week. Right. Not just Bitcoin, but all crypto assets and the larger equity market as a whole. Right. I think the volatility was generally caused by several news in the market, from very weak data points from the US. I think that started on Friday itself. We already saw some weakness in the markets, and then of course on Monday, then the Bank of Japan announced their rate hikes, right? So I think all these macro factors really sort of gave a bad sentiment to the market, right? I think mainly when it comes to crypto in particular, it's a very speculative asset class still, right? Despite me being crypto, I could tell you about how great it is, but in terms of the market, it's still very speculative. So when it comes down, right, the pressure tends to be quick because often people are on leverage, right, on the markets. So we are no strangers in the crypto market. We're no strangers to 10% drop in a matter of minutes. So I think that's what happened, right? A lot of leverage players decided to take a short position and flush it down. But looking at how it rebounded quite healthily, I think we are hovering near 60,000 right now. Is the fact that the sentiments overall are still very positive. I think smart buyers are taking this opportunity to, it crashed down a little bit. It's a flash sale. I'm going to get on some because the fundamental theories behind why people invest in Bitcoin remains intact. That's what I believe.
Right. You shared a lot of insights there, but before we go down even deeper into crypto industry right now, maybe you can share with us a little bit about your background and how did you end up in building a career in cryptocurrency, because that is something not many people would think of, right?
So I definitely had a bit of an alternate route, especially after I completed my studies. I think it was almost that time when you have that digital boom, but it was there already. So a lot of people were trying to build tech startups as an alternative career after coming out from their studies. No different from that. I wanted to go into venture building, wanted to build a lot of startups at one point. Spent a good 2-3 years with a couple of great investors, great friends. We built a couple of great startups, but it was on the digital media side of things. We went to a cycle and then, that didn't turn out so well after that. After that, inherited a rather big team of developers and stuff like that, who also taught me a little bit about crypto and all that. I also have another group of friends who one of them is a veteran in terms of the stock market trading, worked in the bank in the US for years, came back to Malaysia. We somehow managed to collaborate together. We collaborated and decided to build a trading desk that wanted to build a crypto exchange. That was around 2018, I think. So subsequently, we started off, there was no license in Malaysia or anything, but we built our own trading desk. We also tried to build an exchange service for Malaysians because we recognized that there was a bit of a missing gap. We recognized that this is a global trend that is coming. Fast forward, we actually got a license. So I wasn't with Tokenize first. I was with another company called Synergy.
Right.
That was my first crypto startup together with a group of friends. We became Malaysia's first licensed exchange, because there were 3 that were announced, Tokenize, Luno, and also Synergy. So we were the true homegrown one. Subsequently, after that, the Malaysian SC introduced a new framework called the Initial Exchange Offering. And I thought that was a very complementary factor to the digital asset ecosystem in Malaysia. This allows for companies to come over in Malaysia to launch proper tokens. So I worked with a company called Pitchin, built up that framework with them. We got approved by the SC, so they are one of the platforms that you can legally go into go there and launch your token, raise up to 100 million ringgit, comparable to ICOs. And after that, of course, I got asked by my friends here at Tokenize, Chiu, the founder, he's a great friend, say, hey, do you mind coming over, restructure and prepare for the next cycle, together with our shareholders from Kenanga Investment Bank. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll take that offer and see what I can do right now. So there we are right now. We're rejuvenating Tokenize, actually.
So the fact that Tokenize today is licensed by Securities Commission and one of your biggest backer is actually Kenanga Investment Bank. So for sure, Tokenize is a legit platform for all the crypto investors who is looking for a platform to actually start their crypto investment journey.
Correct. I think all the licensed platforms like Tokenize in Malaysia, we're a good starting point. We're a good starting point for a lot of new investors trying to get into crypto. You want the safety, you want the security, you don't want to put too much risk. I think we have all the necessary infra there, from trustees, custodians, and even like market control mechanisms.
A trustee, a custodian means that when an investor buys a crypto asset, it will be parked separately from Tokenize. It will be parked with a third-party custodian bank.
Correct.
So if in any touchwood event Tokenize go into trouble,
correct,
all the assets are being protected.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I think this is the vast difference from, say, for example, we see offshore exchanges like, for example, FTX. Recently, they got into the big scandal and all that. They were allowed to use customers' funds to trade on their own platform. The owners had access to the customers' funds. For us, as much as I think, that's a bad idea. But even if I wanted to do it, there's no way we could touch our customers' funds, actually.
Okay, going back to earlier discussion, you mentioned about leverage. It is no stranger to crypto investors to use leverage in order to amplify their positions in the market. But that term leverage may sound a little bit foreign to people who are not in the crypto space, or they are not frequent investor in the market. Maybe you can share a little bit more about what is this leverage and how to use it.
For example, in Malaysia, there is no margin, there's no leverage when it comes to crypto. It's basically what we call a spot market, right? You buy the tangible Bitcoin asset, you own that one Bitcoin, even though it's digital.
One Bitcoin, 60,000, you just pay 60,000.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Now, however, what is also very popular are offshore platforms, and these are for high-risk traders. They come together and they trade the futures contract, right? It's a contract of Bitcoin. So, it mimics the price of Bitcoin, but the idea is that if you put one Bitcoin as a collateral, it's just as easy as one slider you push up, then you can actually key in a 10 Bitcoin trade. You have access to up to 10 Bitcoin trades. Now, however, the downside to that is if you go long and if the market swings against you, very quickly you'll be flushed out, right? Because there is a liquidation price, right? You borrow money to trade, and if you go up, you make tenfold. But if it goes against you, it goes quickly as tenfold against you, right? So I think this is where it creates that massive volatility in Bitcoin, because you have this bunch of speculators out there that are just trying to push down the price or push up the price, for sheer profits. And again, these kind of trades that they take are not long-lasting trades. It's a very short-term thinking type of trades. But this is part of the ecosystem, or within the crypto circuit, that also makes it exciting because it creates price volatility.
Right.
It creates opportunities. But of course, this is just one subset of the types of people who are in crypto, and this is just one market. But it is quite a dominant market when the futures market is easily trading up to 5 times the volume of the spot market.
Oh, it's that big.
Yeah, it's big.
Right. To explain it in a layman term of what you have just mentioned just now, is that let's say, for example, if I put one Bitcoin and I get to leverage 10 times to long, for example.
Correct.
Long means to buy 10 Bitcoins, right? But if the price go against me, which is going down, it just need to go down by 10%, and I would have lost all my money because it is amplified 10 times. Yep. So 10 times of 10%, that's 100%, right?
Correct.
So that is the risk that excites a lot of crypto investors.
Correct.
Right.
And it's a low barrier of entry, right? With if you talk about equities and all that, you just have to still sign up for a brokerage account. There's a minimum deposits and all that.
Okay.
When it comes to crypto, you can just put in as small as 200 to 300 ringgit worth of Bitcoin, and you get access to that leverage already. And it's all immediate, right? So I think it becomes a very attractive point for those high risk traders.
Okay,
right.
So a lot of people blame the sell off on last Monday, that leverage positions were being liquidated, and therefore it fell all the way down to 48,000, like you mentioned. Can you explain a little bit how that mechanism works that resulted in that kind of consequence?
Mass liquidation, right?
Yes.
So I think first thing to recognize, right, crypto has always been very reactive towards macro news. So when there's a news that somehow would indicate that, okay, this is time to risk off certain assets, like Bitcoin, like crypto, for example, right, the tide will just switch to sell. So the thing is, like what you mentioned earlier, that even a 10% drop of 10 times leverage would cause a liquidation, meaning you really literally your collateral has been taken away. Right? So I think when a lot of people are on high leverage, simply because in general, like I mentioned, we are in that bullish environment, it's time to go long and buy. So people start to leverage and buy. But once the news starts to switch and you don't get to sell in time, and the pressure forces, it hits your price where you have to be liquidated, and it keeps going down, and everyone's liquidation price being hit, so it just keeps going downward.
It's a spiral effect.
Correct. Okay. And you can see typically that happens in a very rapid fashion, right? Typically, if you're talking about a proper sell-off, right, I would say that you see prices being staggered down slowly, right? That's what happens in the markets, because smart sellers, they want to get the best price even when they sell the best average price, right? These sharp candles downwards are typically what we call as liquidation events, where it's just a lot of panic selling that happened in a short moment of time. Panic selling or liquidation, they're just forced liquidate. So it goes down in 10-20% in a matter of an hour or so.
So that's the thing, right? So whatever that we have discussed is more on the technical side of things.
Correct.
So we are trying to figure out how many people have leverage position, and when the tide swings, how would this liquidation work, and how much impact is it to the crypto prices. So a lot of people still have the mindset that crypto assets is a very speculative asset and it has no fundamentals in it. What is your opinion on this statement? Do you think Bitcoin or any other crypto assets have fundamentals?
Okay, I think the fundamentals are largely very different from how we compare to, say, equities of a company, right? For a company, you look at the balance sheet, the performance of the company, the management team. That's how you evaluate fundamentals, right? I think for crypto in general, it is still largely sentimental, but there are some level of fundamentals to it. For example, miners' participation. Are there a lot of miners turning on their machines right now to mine Bitcoins? I think that is one fundamental, and it's the price of Bitcoin allowing them to, say, break even from their energy costs, electricity costs. I think these are basic fundamentals. Other than that, it's really very much more based on, how we correlate it to macro policies. For example, Japan, it's increasing its rates, meaning borrowing from Japan is going to be expensive. So you'd imagine that, out of all the borrowing that's been done with Japan, definitely there's a big portion that goes into a risk asset like Bitcoin. People want to say, no interest, I buy, and then Bitcoin year on year is always going up. Pump it out some on Bitcoin, right? But then when it's increased, oh shit, I got to pay an interest on my loan now. I probably better sell off some, de-risk it, right? So you'd have situations which is all correlated back to, I would say, fundamentals of Bitcoin, what is its purpose. But to me, Bitcoin is very unique in the sense that, you can look at it at several lens. You can look at it from the macro lens. You can look at it as a currency. You can look at it as a tech stock as well. So, the fundamentals are there, but it's just hard to measure it still, I would say.
I think one catalyst to make it a little bit easier to measure is this speculation whereby if Donald Trump were to become the next US president, he's thinking about building a strategic reserve on Bitcoin.
Correct.
To make it into a digital gold per se, right?
Yep.
First of all, is it even possible or feasible to have Bitcoin as a strategic reserve from a technical standpoint?
It is possible, right? You just have to buy Bitcoin, keep it there like gold. However, I'm not an expert in terms of US Treasury, but we've seen companies, for example, MicroStrategy from Michael Saylor, right?
Saylor, yeah.
He's using it as a reserve of sorts. We've also had some SMEs in Malaysia that you'd be surprised that actually hold some Bitcoin in their reserves as a hedge against USD, right? Because they run trading businesses, be it coffee beans or whatnot. We have spoken to our clients. They actually use it for such. So it is possible, but would it be feasible for a country like United States to do it? Would it be a new risk profile for them? Would people want to attack Bitcoin prices because the largest government on earth is holding some Bitcoin reserves? So I think those are good questions, but it is definitely very possible on a technical level. It's just whether do they have the appetite to stomach that risk, I would think.
Yeah, because in order to unlock the Bitcoin, all you need is the 24 key phrase, right?
Correct.
So how is US going to manage these 24 words? Who is going to keep the words? That kind of things.
Correct.
Yeah, so those are the questions that I have. I don't know whether it's possible or not for the US to actually do it. But it will be an exciting development on the crypto market, right?
It is. And I think it fosters innovation, right? So people will be trying to look for ways to how can we help the US Treasury to adopt a strategic balance? How can we improve the security? How can we make the price or the liquidity of the asset, much more stronger so that people cannot simply crash the price, right? Yeah. So I think that will foster innovation.
Okay. Today, the world we are in a very uncertain situation. There's geopolitical tension. Japan increasing interest rate. There's a possibility that US may start cutting the interest rate. Economic data is not very good and all that. And because of all these uncertainties, the conventional investment theory would be to buy gold. Yes. And as a result of that, gold price is at all-time high right now.
Correct, yeah.
People also reference Bitcoin as the digital gold. We have discussed about it. But this digital gold is not mimicking the real gold thing, right? So how much is this digital gold a digital gold? And will it come to a point where one day everybody's realize that there's no point keeping like tons of gold in the reserve and we just hold one cold wallet and that's enough? So when do you think the inflection point is?
I think that's $1 million question, right? I think the unique part about, say, Bitcoin versus gold is that we have come to a maturity to accept gold for what it is. It's a physical asset. It's that millennium's worth of credibility that I think Bitcoin still has got a reputation to pick up. A lot of people look at Bitcoin as different things. Like, I've seen a presentation once that Bitcoin is like a Swiss Army knife. Depends on how you see it. You call it, some people call it a knife, some people call it a scissors, a bottle opener. So there is, of course, a set of people that look at Bitcoin as digital gold, but there are some people who equate it to more like, a tech stock of sorts. So when the inflection point come, I don't know, but I believe that perhaps with enough stress testing, right, enough negative sentiments impacting the asset and then forcing that asset to either do or die, then we know for sure what happens to it. It's still evolving on its own. I think that's the beauty. No one could say what is going to happen to Bitcoin in 50 years' time. It just has to go through that natural progress of growth and stress testing as an asset class.
Maybe it's harder for institutions, companies, and countries to slowly adopt Bitcoin as digital gold. But as a retail investors, definitely it is much easier. I just need to tell myself, okay, today I'm going to treat Bitcoin as a digital gold. Buying physical gold a bit mafan, but
Correct.
Let's just put in some money and start investing in this digital gold. So as a retail investor myself, how do I get myself access to Bitcoin currency?
Okay, I think that's so simple. In Malaysia right now, we have 5 live licensed exchanges, digital asset exchanges. So just simply register for one, transfer your money, you get it into your account, into your crypto exchange account in less than a couple of hours typically. And then from there on, you can start to make your purchase already.
All right. Since you are the CEO of Tokenize, right? What is the unique selling point to use Tokenize and not the other 4 or 5 exchanges out there?
Well, I think we do have a decent variety of different digital assets, and all these digital assets that are listed on our platforms are of different categories, different utilities, different categories. For example, Ethereum is very much more I would call it a silver if you're using, a precious metal type of analogy. Right? So we have different types of crypto in there. And also the fact that I think it's a service at the end of the day, right? All brokerage platforms are pretty much the same. Of course, you're looking at fees. We do have some fee advantages compared to our competitors. But I think ultimately, as a company, I think the idea is that we want to ease the adoption. So of course, customer service, hand-holding a little bit when necessary to our clients is very important. You can always come into our office live to set up your account if you feel that's more comfortable to, your risk appetite. You want to see the faces, you want to see a company because you're dealing in a whole digital environment, right? So something having a face, comforts you. So that's what we do. You can come over to our office at RTS Law at Jalan Tun Razak.
Right. Just now you spoke a little bit about Ethereum. Now, Ethereum ETF has gone live recently, but it hasn't garnered the kind of excitement compared to Bitcoin ETF when it was first launched. Why is that such a big difference between these two assets? Is Ethereum not that attractive?
First and foremost, it is healthy. The fact that not all cryptos now, they're not directly so correlated to Bitcoin anymore. Right, it means that people are knowing how to differentiate each types of crypto and the value proposition it presents. Now, for Ethereum, it is very much like a network of computers that you can use to build other softwares on the blockchain, right? Basically, it has competitors. For example, I'm no expert in precious metals, but typically, if you don't use this precious metal in your product, semiconductor, for example, you could perhaps look at alternatives. So there are alternatives to Ethereum. And I think perhaps that's one of the reasons why its price action has been a bit lackluster compared to Bitcoin. Because for Bitcoin, it is in a class of its own. Even it's a cryptocurrency, but it's a unique class of its own. There's no comparison just yet. For Ethereum, you have Solana and you have so many other alternatives there. So I think investors are also taking a wait and see approach in general. Like they're not putting all in on this. Like say there's no competitor to this. So if I could invest in that Solana as well, I'm putting some in Solana or putting it in different blockchains as well. So I think that could be a purpose. The alternatives that's available to Ethereum.
Also because Ethereum has staking reward, right? Correct. And if you bought the Ethereum ETF, I don't think you will get the staking reward at this point.
Correct.
So might as well just buy
spot Ethereum, right? But the price isn't reflecting, it's not as parabolic as Bitcoin yet. But if we look at markets historically in the crypto markets, right, typically Bitcoin at onset of a new cycle, right, a price cycle, you'd see Bitcoin flying up first, and then of course you see certain low cap coins, those that are not big in market cap, right, they would typically fly on a very odd random phase, but Bitcoin just goes up first, and after that then only Ethereum starts to climb rapidly. And when it climbs up rapidly, it's also a sign where I think the market's a little bit heated up, there's rampant speculation. So I would say that hopefully this time around, it will sustainably go up, right? Because we cannot really trust an asset that's just going up 10% every single day, because you'll lose sleep over that actually.
Right. Okay. Just now when we talk about Ethereum, I noticed something very interesting. We only reference it against Solana.
Yeah.
And we all know Solana has this big ambition to actually disrupt Ethereum. And therefore, a lot of people, when ask them, hey, why didn't you buy Ethereum? They will say, why not just go with Solana, right? So for the people who are not familiar with the crypto industry, what's the biggest difference between Ethereum and Solana?
I think when it comes to the crypto natives, why they want to use Solana versus Ethereum, I think often the comparison goes down to the fees. For me to send one Solana to another party, right? It's so fast, it's immediate, and it costs maybe a fraction only compared to the cost of Ethereum. Sending to Ethereum might perhaps take 2 minutes, whereas sending a Solana may take 30 seconds and a few cents, versus sending over an Ethereum
a few dollars,
And I think when it comes to the crypto space and blockchain, the premise of it is all about transactions, right? Me sending token to that to activate something, or me sending it to my friend or whatever for trading or whatever. The premise has always been about transaction speed and cost.
I think there are a lot of things that we can talk about when it comes to crypto, and it will be an endless conversation with you. So, but I don't want to waste too much of your time. But there's this one burning question that I have before I let you go, which is, what is the outlook of Bitcoin by the end of the year, in your opinion?
I think it's going to be an interesting year for crypto, right? We've all got all these 4-year cycles. So those of you who may be new, typically it comes off what we call a winter, when everyone's so jaded about Bitcoin and crypto. It starts picking up again. There's a bit of a disbelief. This year is the 4th year, right? Bitcoin halving happened this year. On top of that, we've also got a very, exciting election coming up in the US. So all these could play into a factor. I believe that we could still see higher highs for Bitcoin, optimistically, barring the fact, of course, if there are major political tensions and there's a war that breaks out, which could make, all risk asset as a high risk. You don't know where to put your money. Should you put in Bitcoin or gold, like what you mentioned? well, Bitcoin is light and easy, but it's also so new. Like, I don't know what it is, right, for most of the world's population. So barring all that from happening, but if we see US elections coming up, we see the positive developments that's happening around the world related to cryptocurrency, I think we could still see higher highs if the trend remains true as of previous cycles.
Do you want to put a number to it?
I think that's not appropriate. But however, I think it's much higher than 70.
Right.
And my basis is based on the fact that every time Bitcoin surpasses its previous high, it tends to go parabolic. From 20, it did not stop at 25,000, back in the previous cycle. It just went all the way up to 69.
60, yeah.
So, while a lot of Bitcoin enthusiasts have been putting up the laser eyes, and there's always a prophecy calling for Bitcoin to be more than 100,000. So I would say at 60,000, we are very close to, say, 100,000 as compared to, say, it's going to go back down to 10,000. So I think it could be a realistic goal, but we don't know when. I would say that Bitcoin can go to 100,000. Being in the industry, I have to give a bit of a optimistic outlook.
I have a similar optimistic as you in terms of Bitcoin price, but I see it from a very different perspective. So we have gone far from like the start of Bitcoin, and then it went through the halving, and then it went all the way up to 73,000, and then it came back down, and then now it's hovering around 60. Now what's happening is that a lot of trading activities is happening around this price.
Correct.
Which means we are building a new support price around this level.
Correct.
So this is the new base.
Correct.
If it goes down any lower, it's just becoming too cheap for a lot of investors because most of their traded price is around this level.
Yeah.
So from here, if there's new adoption coming in, then it can only push the price up.
Correct.
But when, I also don't know when. I wish I know, then I can load up at the right timing.
Correct.
But to me, I have the comfort that I think right now is quite a safe place to be.
I think it's very important to, I know the similar theory as you. As investors out there, assuming all our audience here today, they have a bit of investment experience, in the stock market. I think how one would approach this 50-something K as a base is to look at the large boys and what's their entry price or average price. I think Michael Saylor, right? He owns one of the largest batch of Bitcoins, second to the ETF ones. I think his entry price should be about 50-something thousand, 51, low 50,000. So I think, if you place your entry price around his, you wouldn't go that wrong, right? I would think so.
Yeah. Well, nice chatting with you.
Pleasure.
I hope all the best to Tokenize as well with all the long journey that you have gone through and your future endeavors as well. But for those who are interested to open an account with Tokenize, you can click on the link in the description. There are some special offers there for our users there. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.